Dollars and Cents with Hapo Community Credit Union helps empower our listeners to achieve financial success while living for today and planning for tomorrow. This podcast focuses on financial education, community support, fraud prevention, real-life stories of financial transformation, and much more. Hapo Community Credit Union serves Washington and Oregon with over 18 locations. Bank on more when you bank with us.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Dollars and Cents, Hapo Community Credit Union's financial literacy podcast. Today in the studio, we are going to be talking about something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about sales and marketing trends that have been happening online in different apps, different websites, and sales gimmicks, and whether or not those are creating good or bad consumer habits. Today in the podcast studio, we've got a couple of Hapo employees with us. We have Stephen from Card Services, Mylene, Financial Education, and Stephanie with our Community Engagement. Welcome, everybody, to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So kind of an interesting topic today, talking about just the general landscape of sales and marketing out there and how it may or may not impact. Just a quick rundown of some of the things we're going to cover. Some of the interest-free payment options that are out there. Companies like Klarna and Affirm offering either like don't pay, purchase it now but pay for it later, or installment plans on payments. Amazon. Everybody loves Amazon. I'm sure everybody's getting ready for Amazon Christmas coming up here soon, where packages just arrive and you probably forgot what you purchased last night. So free gifts for yourself. Their one-click and buy now options, basically removing a lot of barriers from your need to think about your decision before purchasing. Subscribe and save, a fantastic way to save some money possibly, or a way to just end up with a whole lot of product you don't need. Talks about some subscription solutions, what out there, how many people are paying for 17 different Netflix accounts, or more likely how many different streaming services you've got currently queued up now that cable TV is gone away, or what other subscriptions might be out there. We'll probably start talking about social media and some of the other mass market applications and whatnot. So go ahead, everybody. What do you think is going to be the most interesting topic that we've got today?
Good question. I think for me, as someone that has used Amazon for a while, that'll be pretty interesting to me. I've definitely fallen into the trap of how easy it is. So.
Remove the barriers to purchasing, make more money.
Yeah.
How about you, Mylene?
I think some of those social apps like TikTok Shop, Temu, and because I'm very familiar, but I have not used the TikTok Shop. So
are you one of those people that's staying off of social media, or are you just avoiding the shops on social media?
I'm trying to be really mindful about what I'm clicking out there.
And how about you, Stephen? How much of an online social media presence do you have? Do you consider yourself an influencer?
Absolutely not. Not much at all. I think what most interests me is the Temu, those things, just because I'm not familiar with those. I haven't got the rush of finding an item I've been looking for 70% of its normal price.
Or at least how much they're claiming its normal price is.
Interested to kind of learn about that and get a better feel for what exactly that is. So.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump right into those then, talking about kind of these apps that are out there that provide you with these 80%, 90%, it's free, just pay for shipping type of deals. When we're talking about those, we're talking about, like you mentioned, Temu, Wish, Shein, AliExpress. A lot of these, if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to jump to conclusions too much, but I believe are Chinese-based applications for products manufactured in China, mass-marketed, mass-produced. And more often than not, looking through those, we find a lot of the same product listed by a couple of different names. And honestly, for me, half the time it looks like they grabbed like 8 random letters and numbers to be their company name, but they're offering an 80% discount on a thing. And so why wouldn't you give that a shot? Like when you guys are out looking and shopping for things, are these a type of platform that you're going to go look at first? Obviously, Stephen, we just mentioned you haven't really been out on those. So my guess is not so much for you, but you've been out on Amazon and whatnot. So Stephanie, what about you? Are you in on these?
So for me, things like Temu, Shein, no. I think I've just seen so many reviews stating that the quality is just not there. And for me, and just the fast fashion aspect of it just doesn't sit right with me.
Okay.
So for me, that hasn't been something I've really gotten into. I will say though, I am an Amazon user, and sometimes I will purchase an article of clothing that has like a Shein tag on it. So that's kind of interesting, but never directly from those apps.
Okay. And so what about the Amazon purchases makes you more confident in them than the other ones? Is it return policies? Is it payment options?
Yeah, they just make it so easy. I mean, I guess they're all easy to use, but with Amazon, like you said, it's one click and your address is already in, your payment's already in. I think you're able to kind of see all the rates and reviews right there. So you can kind of read through them, see what's good, see what's not good.
Okay, now here's the fun thing. From my experience with Temu, with Shein, you have all of those same things.
I'm realizing that now as I'm speaking.
It's an interesting balance, but I would agree that I feel like the information that I'm getting on Amazon feels more legitimate to me.
Me too, yeah.
I don't know if that comes with the price tag that is on the item. Like, I feel like I'm going to get a better quality of item because I paid more for it, even if it's literally the same item that I'd be buying on one of the other apps. How do you guys feel about that as a concept? Is the price tag part of what matters? Are you going to get the cheapest thing you can find, or are you going to look at that one and be like, they might have skimped on the fabric quality on this one, or the stitching looks like it's probably going to be bad if I don't pay the extra $5 or $10?
I might be on the same page, kind of. If I'm shopping and I look at the price, there's that tendency that I'll be more comfortable paying a little bit more than going towards to the cheaper price of it. And I'm very familiar with the Temu and stuff like that.
Okay.
And Shein, but like I said, and I heard like exactly what Stephanie said. I saw reviews, and firsthand I heard that the quality is just not there. And there's something about the Amazon. It's such a big company, and there's always that, like you said, the policy might be similar, which I never look into their policy when it comes to return. But yeah.
So in my experiences with Temu and Wish, their return policy is very similar. And the number one difference that I've experienced is timeline. So because a lot of these are shipping directly from China, there is a much longer shipping time in it arriving, as well as returning a product. So I've had free returns on products there when they showed up, and it was like, oh, you claim that this was a quadruple extra large and should fit my not so tiny self, and yet somehow I need to, the scaling on that didn't seem to pan out. Now I realize that the Asian sizing very different than American sizing. I just didn't know how many X's I needed to throw in front of that shirt that I wanted. And so a quick return to get a different size ended up being almost 4 weeks of turnaround time to send it back, get it accepted, and then turn around and get the reply. Amazon, 3-4 days, like I feel like we experience here. So while the policies seem to be pretty much the same, obviously the distance that product is traveling changes a little bit of like Amazon's overnight shipping and prime delivery, 1-day delivery options. I feel like Amazon's winning in that category. But it seems like maybe the policies are all pretty well on par with each other if you're willing to wait, if you plan ahead enough for a Halloween costume. Like, I don't know, ordering in May so you can make sure it fits and then send it back and then get another one and then realize that one's not the right fit either. And but whereas ordering from Amazon, I feel like you can get those more often than not. For me, I feel like I get everything like a day or two earlier than they're even projecting on those. How about you, Stephen? What about those things jumps out to you? Are you going to be looking to pay more for a quality product, or are you looking for the best deal on what looks like the same product, or both?
I think the main thing that has kept me away from the Temu sites and the AliExpress is I share the same sentiment as them. I do my research usually before I buy. I know quality is an issue, and I think as a consumer, I take into consideration. We could use, say, Nike as an example. Okay. I can get a pair of Nike shoes for $120. Temu's got them for $60. They may be knockoffs. I'm going to pay $60. They might last me 6 months. Or I can pay the full $120. They might last me 2 years. Me as a consumer, I'd rather pay the extra and have it last longer and have a better product.
I'd agree.
And so that's what's kept me away from those sites. And for me personally, I would prefer to get everything cheap. It would be great. But unfortunately, that's not the world we live in. And I would rather pay a few extra dollars or even $20 extra for something that's going to last and be a quality product and I'm going to get my money's worth out of it, than have, get that discount and have it fall apart or have it not show up not as described and then have to wait 6 more weeks when I got a hole in my other pair of shoes and my toes hanging out. So that's kind of the way I look at it and just kind of what's kept me away from those sites. I think for some people...
I think that makes a lot of sense. That's a sentiment that I think a lot of people get. All three of you shared that the reviews, the quality of that product doesn't seem to be there with those mass discount sites. One of the things that I did notice about those that I wanted to talk about as far as the marketing schemes, and I'm going to go with schemes as far as this is concerned. It doesn't sound like any of you have really used Temu, except for maybe you, Mylene. Have you used their their app for your phone, or just how did you go about working with them if you did?
No, I did not use Temu at all.
So I'm just going to have to narrative this one for you guys. They have been doing a very interesting thing that a lot of people refer to as gamifying. So gamifying their discounts. When you open up the app, and honestly, you can't open up the app without having to click through 800 different screens to actually get to a product search. They are marketing out of the gate all the things. And what they've been doing is you open the app and it's click to spin here to see what sort of discount you can get. And there's a little disclaimer at the bottom that says everybody gets the same thing. And of course, it always spins by far the best option. And if it didn't, that's because it spins, try again. And so you click it and it does it again. But you spend the entire time waiting for it to happen. But now you feel like you have gotten this great deal. And a lot of times someone are like, 300% off in coupons for return value based on the price of what you purchased. And it ends up being almost deceptive if you're not reading all of it. You're like, okay, cool. If you spend $50, we're going to give you $150 in coupons. Okay, cool. But then you see those coupons and it's $15 off your purchase of $50 or more. And it's a bunch of those. So you've got to use them regularly and they all expire 3 days after each other. So it's, again, they're just trying to get you back into the application to do it again and do it again. And once you've started using it, so fair warning for those of you who haven't, you're going to get 3 or 4 emails a day from their marketing department talking about, hey, here's this discount that we've got for you. And every now and again, I've gotten one that provided me with a free product, just pay shipping. And funny enough, I've actually gotten 1 or 2 things that were really actually useful and high quality. I've also gotten a couple of things on there that were 100% in that stereotype bad quality product. And I was like, wow, I made a poor choice here. But those are the type of things that I've dealt with on those applications, which is kind of why I wanted to talk about them today. But yeah, that gamifying, have you dealt with that in any other situations, advertising wise, where they're trying to get you excited and make it look like you were the one that got the best discount?
I've definitely seen the spin the wheel before. I think that's a popular one, but nothing.
I think it's because it's really easy to do. Yeah. More often than not, I think I see it when I'm leaving a site without having bought anything. They're like, oh, hey, you sure you want to leave now? Spin this wheel and we'll give you a discount. And it's almost always the exact same thing.
I think it's kind of along the same lines as when you go on a site. And as soon as you get on the site, it pops up, enter your email address. If you want a 15%, you say no, and it says, or your options are yes or no, I don't like to save money.
Exactly.
And I think that plays with people's emotions, like, well, yeah, I do want to save money. And so they might rethink their decision on, okay, I can put my email in to save a little bit of money.
And putting it right out of the gate, you don't know if you don't like everything on their site yet. So why wouldn't you get a code for 15% off?
And then you're going to get the emails.
Exactly.
And they're never going to end.
Unsubscribe only gets you so far.
Yes.
That is an interesting point, though, getting that 15% off, lowering the barrier to buying something, and then getting your contact information to send out more deals, more marketing, try and get you to come back regularly. One of the things that we'll shift gears here a little bit, because it came to mind when we talk about that, as soon as you can get in somebody's inbox, the likelihood of them coming back to your website to purchase again, return business, is actually one of the main marketing points for Klarna and Affirm and other companies and products like that. How much do you guys know about those?
I have not used them personally, but they're always, whenever you shop, you see for ECP or for easy payment if you can't afford it.
I've used a program like that. I believe it was Synchrony.
Okay.
I used it to purchase guitars.
Okay.
It was no interest, I believe, for a full year.
Oh, dang.
Like, well,
okay.
If I don't have the $1,500 for this guitar I want, I know I can make it work over the year. And so I did. It wasn't Klarna or Affirm itself, but it was the same type of program.
Okay.
I think for me it was beneficial.
Yeah.
So,
Stephanie, how about you?
I've never used either of those.
Have you seen them, though?
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I've online shopped, they're always an option.
$100 item or 4 interest-free payments of $25 a piece.
I've been offered on $30 items. I've seen it. It says, 400 street payments
Oh,
of
yeah.
$6 or
Yeah. So as far as those go, those companies, first, Klarna is if I remember correctly, a Swedish fintech, financial technology company. They're actually a different financial institution that is offering these. And so is Affirm, but I believe Affirm is based in the USA. And that is just kind of their entry thing that they get you into. And they offer it on multiple different websites, but the way that they get themselves on those sites isn't necessarily because Amazon doesn't think you can pay for this product. It's because Klarna and Affirm are guaranteeing increases in number of sales, revenue, and return customers based on the ability to utilize that, spreading that cost out. Now, for me, I probably fall into the same range as you, Stephen. I'd be looking at it when we're starting to get up into, like, say, a $1,500 purchase, up in that range. $30 purchase, if I can't pay that one right out of the gate, and I'm budgeting $6 a month or something like that, I probably shouldn't be looking at using this product. But 0% interest at the same time, is that ever a bad thing?
Zero interest is not a bad thing if you really need the product.
Yeah.
And also, like you said, maybe it depends on that amount. But we need to be careful when you start using those, because you're going to have that cycle of trying to have to purchase something, like the instant gratification of having that product instead of just saving for it or paying it off.
Yeah, that retail therapy idea. Also, how many people out there do you believe are actually adding that into their budget? If they're really budgeting, they're like, okay, now I need to know that for the next 4 months, I've got this $25 payment that needs to be handled. Let's add that onto my known budget. Versus, no, it's just cheaper today, so I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to do it 80 different times, and now I've got all these payments that are spread out over different months, and how well are you keeping up with those? I think that's probably the real pitfall of those, is overusing them.
Yeah, and you're having that false sense of security with your finances, because if you're having all those different one and you cannot really afford $100, especially even for $100 for easy payments of $25, I I rather save for $100 and pay it one time than having those for easy payments of $25.
Yeah. And I know that at least with Affirm, I did a little bit of looking into the two companies early on. Affirm is actually, again, another fintech, but I believe in the United States. And they offer payments through their app. So now they're getting on your phone and kind of like giving them your email address. Now they're in your inbox. They want you to get their credit card. You can do the Affirm payments now with your credit card, with our personal one. And from what I was seeing, it isn't so much the customer that they're making their money off of, because you'd think that they would need to charge some level of interest if they're going to basically, because it sounds like to me, they pay for the product that you get and then they just charge you for it over time. So they're putting all $100 down and then they're just getting $25 back. Effectively, that's a loan. And so you would think any loan is the person holding the loan takes that risk, and therefore that's why you pay interest. But at 0%, they can't be making any money on just those. They're making their money on the processing fees for those sales, and companies like Amazon are more than happy to let them do it because they're the ones taking on the risk and increasing sales. So Amazon's getting paid for that product one way or the other, and Affirm is taking on the risk. And then, of course, Affirm is using that, from what I can tell, to get more members to come in to use their services and get their card. So I guess it kind of feels like it's a win-win across the board, but I also noticed that they do more than just 0% loans, and their loan rates looked like they were anywhere from like 0 to 30%, which 30% to me feels like a really big number. But I know that when we get into certain credit card fees and interest rates, especially if you've missed a payment or two, those can quickly jump up into those numbers as well.
So yeah, I would say that I agree the 0% loans are harmless. I think they're good for some people. You know, like I said, I've used them before. And it
same.
Benefited me. But I do kind of take caution when you see the ones that are 0%, say for a year or maybe 2 years. But in the fine print, it says that if this loan isn't paid in full in that year or 2 year time frame, that we're going to add up all the interest from those first 2 years, and we're gonna put it on top of the loan there.
Yeah, they're sitting there keeping tabs on the interest the entire time, because your payment's probably not structured to pay everything off in 12 months, right?
Yeah, usually you would be just paying, most people, if they're going to take that kind of loan, most likely they may only be able to afford the minimum payment if they haven't planned it out. So the minimum payment isn't going to cover that full 4-year loan in 2 years. And so that interest for those first 2 years builds up, and then depending on how it's structured, that could make your minimum payment go up. So now you have a bigger payment than what you had maybe planned for, and obviously you end up paying more in the long run. And so I think in the end those could be good if you get a 4-year loan. It's 2 years interest free, and you can pay it off in those 2 years. You just don't have the money to do it up front, so that's why you're getting that loan. I think that can be good, but I just think it's something people should be cautious about. When you see 0%, read the fine print.
Yeah.
Make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into, and always plan ahead.
Yeah, the budgeting concept, planning ahead on that, knowing that, hey, here's this expense that, like a personal example, a couple of years ago, my air conditioning unit decided to die. It was 119 degrees outside, so I don't blame it. I didn't want to be outside working either, but it decided to just quit working forever. And that was a very large price tag to get fixed, and we wanted it fixed right out of the gate because it was 119 degrees outside, and it was very quickly like 90 degrees inside at that point in time. And so we ended up doing a financing plan through the air conditioning company that was a 12-month 0% interest, but it was 100% that. It was at the end of that 12 months, if it's not paid off, all of that interest is going to get added to the loan after the fact. And like we then looked at everything and we're like, okay, cool, let's do what we can. We're going to plan for like 10 months out. We're going to get this thing paid off at that point in time. So we started setting money aside into a different account because if I'm paying at 0%, but they don't really care, it was like, okay, let's make that minimum payment every month, and we're going to stack the rest of it away and earn whatever percentage our savings account's going to add to this, or checking account or money market account is going to add on to this money. And we're just going to keep setting that aside, let it earn a little bit, and then take it all out and pay off that with at least a month buffer to go, because that was the last thing I wanted was, oh yeah, no, you made the payment by this date, but you need to do it the day before in order to avoid all that interest. How many of the others have utilized any of those long-term 0% interest situations?
I actually did those 1 year, 12 months, zero interest, doing home improvement. We use Lowe's and Home Depot as well. So with that, I'm very careful using those type of zero interest, knowing what will happen if you don't pay it off. So I always trying to make sure to divide the payments into either 10 months or 11 months, so I'm not paying just a minimum balance.
Yep, that buffer to make sure that if for whatever reason something else comes up, that you can still make it, because more often than not, that additional interest that's going to get tacked on there is a little bit more of a headache than I think anybody's wanting to get at the end of something like that. Like, I know for my situation, I would have been like, okay, if I messed that up, at least I had air conditioning for those 12 months. But I still definitely was not going to be looking forward to the interest on that, because I think it was going to be like an 18% interest that was tacked on at the end of that particular one. And that is no small interest rate for that. But yeah, we managed to get ours paid off in that 11-month time frame before we had to stare down the barrel of the big interest ad. And for us, we actually decided to do that because I think it was 2 months before we re-roofed the house. So I was like, okay, cool. We had budgeted for one of those things, but definitely not the other. And it really did help as far as like the long-term budgeting was concerned, to make sure that we were good to go. We weren't going to have any issues there. And with the home improvement project, that's probably a lot of budgeting going into that as well. And spreading those costs out is definitely going to be a lot nicer for planning purposes.
Yeah, especially like you said, it's not something that we anticipated that's going to happen. So that it's just one of those things that we don't really have the savings. And sometimes those are the one that it makes sense than going for easy payment for little things. So.
Yeah, and I think, to Mylan's point, that, when something does come up that's unexpected, rather than put it on your credit card and pay that 18%, or, if you have good credit, 15%, you get that 0%, And so I think that in those situations, it's advantageous for a lot of people to use it, and I think it really comes in handy in those situations. Yeah,
definitely. I think that's one of those things that we all know that if you can get a lower interest rate on something, that's a good thing. And 0%, unless they're paying you for having a loan with them, is as good as you're going to get. But again, don't get caught not reading that fine print. Pay attention to what's going to happen if you don't follow through on your side of things.
Yeah, and just to add to those 1 year interest, there's a lot of furniture places that does that. If you're just doing it just to update your furniture, maybe you have to rethink that.
I know my mom could probably use that advice. Feels like every other time I go over to her house, there's a new set of couches. That's probably an exaggeration, probably. Some of the other ones that I have seen not too long ago were we can talk about subscriptions and introductory rates on those subscriptions. When was the last time you saw a new TV show coming out and you really wanted to watch it, and then you realized, oh no, it's on a different streaming service that I don't currently pay for, or it's part of this new package of 3 or 4 streaming services that you can get, and it's like, oh yeah, no, it's just $25.99 for 3 months. And then you read the fine print, and it turns out that after those 3 months, it jumps up to like $90 a month or something along those lines. How many streaming services or other subscription services would you guess that each of you have? I can't guess mine. It's probably in the dozens. If I'm being honest, it's probably up in the dozens.
We have a couple, not in the dozens, but I pay for my PlayStation. We have Netflix, but that's one thing we've taken into consideration is we got rid of DirecTV to save some money.
Yep.
And we looked at we can get some streaming, but is it worth it to have 5, 6, 7, 8?
You don't want to have Disney Plus and ESPN Plus and Hulu and Netflix and Peacock and Paramount Plus. Also, I think they are all pluses at this point in time.
Yes.
Seriously.
in the end, you're almost back to where you were. And do you is that something you really need?
Yeah.
Do you need to watch that newest show the day it comes out, or can you wait a week till it comes out on Blu-ray? You can spend $14.99 for it, or you sign up for the starting subscription price, you forget to cancel it, and it ends up costing you $100.
That right there is a hook that I was going to get into here shortly.
And I see all the time people down on card services, they forget that they signed up for things, or it's a once-a-year recurring subscription, so they definitely forget. That $100 charge comes on there, and
probably because the year-long subscription was like 2 months for free.
Yeah.
So obviously you take the one payment for the year if it's only going to be 10 months worth of fee. Percentage savings is a big deal. I do that with a number of things. I have a couple of them that I know when they recur, and I just keep them because I like them. But I have actually had one that came around that renewed that I was like, oh no, I was supposed to cancel that last week. Mylene, how about you?
Okay, I very personal when it comes to this subscription. Okay, because I used to work for a cable company. I used to work for Time Warner Cable, and now I feel with all this subscription, it feels like the company trying to empower consumer, where you can have the a la carte pick and choose which one that actually fit your lifestyle. However, seeing all this thing, like you said, you see something and you want to watch it. Now all of a sudden it's not. You have to subscribe to actually watch that, show. So that's the issue. We are in a losing situation as a consumer. Yes, there's that empowerment.
I was going to say, the whole thing started from I know that cable gives me 392 channels. I care about 12 of them, but I'm paying for all of them. So let me get a service that allows me to pick and choose the ones that I want. And now it turns out that the ones that I want are like $15 a piece. And now all of a sudden we're back up to the same price or more than we were paying for the cable subscription. And of course, if you're on a streaming service, you now have to have the internet subscription to get that going as well. And if it's not a good enough internet subscription, then you're probably going to get some loading issues. How many subscriptions would you guess that you have?
4.
4? That's not a guess. That is very solid answer right there. I'm not going to ask you, but my guess is that Mylene could tell us exactly what each one of those is right off the top of her head right now. Stephanie, what about you?
It's kind of funny. I actually don't myself have any. I'm kind of the type to be like, Mom, do we have Netflix? Or talk to a friend, do you have Hulu so I can watch this? Or talk to a sibling, do you have Peacock so I can watch this? But now they're hitting us with this device isn't on your family network. Yep. So I'm also in a losing battle in that sense, and I'm going to have to start getting my own subscriptions. Yeah.
All right. So when it comes time to get them, how many of them do you think you're going to be looking at right out of the gate?
At least like 6 or 7 right out of the gate.
See, so like for me, I know I have one for audio. I pay for a subscription with Pandora to go ad free. I've got a number of different television ones. And I lied to myself out of the gate, and I was like, I'm going to get Hulu, and then I'm going to cancel Netflix. And then once I've watched all the things I want to watch on Hulu, I'll cancel that and get Netflix and watch that. Nah, that was way too much effort. So I just pay for both of them all the time, which is terrible. I don't suggest people do that. If you're not using a service regularly, cancel it. But again, that other one, the other way that we get there is that forgetting to cancel. I've done this, and I guarantee a couple other people in here have. I can see Jeff giggling in the corner, our camera guy, about signing on to, I believe the one that I did this with was Fubo, I believe is the name of it, because I wanted to get access to a live streaming, I believe it was a football game at the time, and it was 7-day free trial. Just here's your email address to get signed up, and if you don't actively cancel, your first month is going to be like, I want to say it was like $89.99 or something like that. And I was like, oh, I definitely need to remember. And as soon as the game was over, I went and canceled because I was like, I can't forget this one. This one would be really annoying. I definitely don't want to spend $90 to watch one football game. That seems like too much to me. I feel like this kind of falls into gym memberships. Like they want you to pay the monthly fee and then forget to get rid of it and then not look at the card that you assigned it to. And like if it's your debit card, you're probably losing that transaction amongst all the other things that you're doing with that card. Are there any suggestions that you guys have for online subscriptions or keeping track of those? I heard one recently that was very interesting to me about using a different feature for the email address that you use to sign up for a subscription service. Gmail, for those of you that don't know out there, if you were to take your email address at Gmail, and so I'm going to lie, this is not mine. If it was just scott@gmail.com, I could do Scott plus Hulu @gmail.com, the plus sign, the word Hulu, and use that as my email address when I create my account for Hulu. I learned all of this after I created all of mine, so I can't take advantage of it, unfortunately. But hopefully some of you out there can. Stephanie, you can definitely do this.
Yeah.
Any email that you get with that plus Hulu is going to come back into your regular Gmail account. Gmail knows that the plus Hulu is just a thing, and it will tag those emails for you as associated to Hulu. And you can add whatever tag you want on those. So it could be one for @Hulu, one for @Netflix, or plus Hulu, plus Netflix. And they will all come in tagged as information from those specific locations. And if for whatever reason, this came through as a cybersecurity training tidbit. So if you got a notification to your email address that you use for everything, that it was that somebody was trying to log into your account, you would know which account it was that they were attempting to get into. That way you would know where to go to change your passwords and whatnot. But this is kind of one of those things that you're like, oh, cool. Now I can see when these things come in, if I'm receiving an email that has the plus Hulu that, oh, no, I should have canceled that, and kind of keep track of it. Are there any other tips or anything out there that you would have for somebody trying to keep track of all of their subscriptions?
Check your statement. I use certain, like one credit card for all my subscription.
Okay.
So I can easily look at my statement. And then I try to reassess it. Where do I... or even ask my family members, hey, do you guys still need Peacock or anything after the motorcycle thing, like race my husband watch? Then I asked him if he still need
Yep. Because it's not like they have a setup and a shutdown fee on those. You can just go start and stop those pretty much whenever. Mm-hmm. I know some of them are like, we're going to keep your money and you can have your access to the subscription until the end of the month. and others are like, all right, we'll pay you back whatever you didn't use, and your service is canceled and cut off. I believe that Sling TV is one of those that's a prorated one, and I believe that like Hulu is one that it's like if you cancel, you get it for that month, I think.
Amazon does it both ways. I do believe either you can have your money back or just
access through the end.
App. Yep, that's exactly what they do. So when it comes to those subscription, it's really it doesn't work as the financial advice that we do. We tell everyone when it comes to your savings, for set it and forget it. So that doesn't work with your subscription. So make sure you don't do that.
I mean, it does for them.
Yeah, forget it, set it, forget it. It only works for savings. So
for you, it's minimize the number of transactions that are coming in, so you can see which ones are still charging regularly, and of course, paying attention to your statement.
Yep.
I think
Exactly.
obviously most of these streaming services, they want you to forget that you
yeah,
signed
absolutely.
up. And I think the best overall way is to be responsible for your finances and monitor them, like check your statements and things. But there's tools, whether you bank here or elsewhere, most online banking or debit card apps, you can set up alerts to where, hey, if this type of merchant, our debit card app, this type of merchant charges my card, alert me. That way, Netflix just charged my card. I was going to cancel that.
Yep. At least then you only miss the one, assuming that you remember to go cancel it right when you get that alert.
If you set up, if you do the subscription or even just the trial for one show or one football game in your case, set an alert on your phone for 2 days later, a day later, that says go cancel Fubo. It's unfortunate that the amount of work you have to put in, but if you want to stay on top of it and keep your finances clean, you got to set up alerts and. I think those are just some tools that people can use to stay on top of that, to make sure that it's not getting out of hand.
And I feel like I've been seeing a lot of commercials lately about applications that will check to see how many subscriptions you're getting. Just being able to look and be like, why do I have 2 Netflix accounts? Right. Which is typically what the commercial is talking about. And I, off the top of my head, I don't remember the name of the applications that are out there, but I know they're out there. To be able to track down, hey, these are the active subscriptions you got. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there, probably myself included, that would be a little bit shocked at how many of them are still floating out there. You're like, oh, goodness, I've been paying $5 a month for this for how long? I haven't used that in 3 years. Those type of things where it's a small enough dollar amount that you might not notice it in the bottom line of your budget, $60 a year or something like that. You're like, okay, well, I could have had that money and gone out to a very nice dinner, but I didn't because I forgot to cancel that silly subscription. Now, there are some other different subscription models that are out there that we kind of touched on a little bit earlier that I think are functional and helpful. Amazon has Subscribe and Save, where typically they're offering you, and when we touched on it a little bit with the pay for a year and get 2 months for free type of a thing, but with Amazon, a service like Subscribe and Save is, I know that I'm going to use this type of a product every month, and I want regular refills on it, and if I'm going to commit to getting it monthly, then they're willing to give a discount on that. How many of you guys utilize those? I know that my wife and I use that, and I've got a great story about that here in a moment. But I want to hear what you guys have been doing with those, if you have been taking advantage of those.
I use Amazon for my water filter and air filter.
Okay.
It's every 6 months. So
yeah, so it's a thing that you're going to need on a schedule. And you can, by basically just committing to having this subscription, save a percentage on top of that.
Exactly. I'm not planning to use them to subscribe to lots of products that I know it's not going to be used.
Steve, what about you? Do you use any of those?
Until today, I was not aware that that was a thing.
Okay. Are you planning now to go out and set up some subscriptions?
I think my opinion on it would be, if it's something that I need and maybe it's, toilet paper, Kleenex, stuff like you just discussed that we know we'll use.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea, and if it's actually going to save you money in the long run, I think I would consider it for sure. I have several hobbies, and, I don't need recurring charges of guitar strings or hiking boots or things of that nature, but I think for things that you're going to use and that it's not going to be waste, I think it's a great thing, and I'm glad you guys talked about it, because I'm going to have to look into it, but yeah.
Stephanie, what about you?
Yeah, not personally, but I know now thinking about it, my parents use it for dog food.
Okay.
The Amazon subscription, yeah.
I'm sure the dog appreciates that.
They totally love it.
And it keeps from scraping the bottom of the bucket being like, I need to remember to go pick up dog food today.
Exactly.
Which I believe is on my list to do in the next couple of days. But I don't think we're quite at the bottom of the bucket yet. Mm-hmm. So I got a minute to ignore that one still. For me, you mentioned hobbies. That was where we got bit by it, or at least I did. We use it for toiletries, paper towels, those type of things. Coffee, definitely coffee. And I was doing some hobby crafting using Gorilla Glue epoxy, and we set that up. And now I've got 30 or 40 tubes of Gorilla Glue epoxy at home that I don't need immediately. Because I forgot that it kept showing up. I mentioned to my wife, I was like, we need to cancel this one. And she was like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And then didn't. And so a couple more months of that coming in, I was like, I thought we canceled this. And then eventually we actually did cancel it. Now, the nice thing is I'm fairly certain it doesn't really have an expiration date, so I'm going to be able to use it over time. But it is one of those things where, like, if you're ordering something that has an expiration date and you forget to cancel it, it takes 1 in 10 at a 10% savings to suddenly not save you any money anymore. And if you miss 2, your subscription has now cost you more money than you're saving if you're having to throw away an expensive product. So like most subscriptions, once again, vigilance seems to be the answer. Make sure that if you're not using these products as regularly, or if you're finding yourself stockpiling coffee, drink more coffee. I had to remind myself to do that not too long ago. But we never really had too big of a stockpile there. Or I believe with most of those subscriptions, you can pause them or obviously shut them off. And then just needing to go and redo that again. Has anybody fallen victim to, I shouldn't say victim, because this one is really just convenience, one-click buying, buy now. Just like not even to skip the cart, just buy and charge the card that's on file.
I did. It's been a couple months. It was on Amazon, and I don't remember what I was buying.
Well, that might speak to Amazon Christmas coming soon.
It was probably something I didn't need, but I did I was like, buy now, and so I went. And I was like, okay, that was quick and easy. Well, then it just caused a headache because the card that was on file was expired.
Oh,
and
goodness.
That's the one it charged. Yep. And so later I got an email, hey, your order didn't go through. And then I was like, and I had to go through, and it was a longer process in the end to figure out, okay, which card did it use? Why did it, and then switch the payment methods.
One quick, a login, reset the password, update the card, delete this one, add the... Yeah, that's not a removal of barrier at that point.
It's great for the moment. It gives you that nice, relaxed feeling of, man, that was easy. And if your ducks are in a row, it's great. But one of them ducks out of line, and it can be a headache. So.
Stephanie, what about you? Is that your go-to for purchasing?
It's so bad. I'm always it just takes away the no time to think about it. Purchase right now, instant gratification, and
one of my wife's coworkers did that with, I want to say it was like a 3-gallon jar of pickles. Apparently they were really good, but she didn't need that many of them. And it was just an evening that she was hanging out at home and just decided, I want that. Click, done. Way too many. But again, it's really easy. I want it in this moment. All it takes is one click. Heck, I've misclicked a couple of times and been happy that there was a cart in between me and the actual checkout. I was like, no, I definitely didn't need to buy that. In fact, recently one that happened, not on Amazon, but the TikTok shop. I've been getting a lot of advertisements. I'm fairly certain they know that I like to cook. I don't know how they figured that out. I don't post anything on there. I just watch things. So I probably have been watching a lot of cooking videos. But I've been receiving a number of social media influencer videos for a bacon grease container. It's got a nice, cool mesh screen. You can strain out all the stuff, keep that great bacon grease for use in other things later. And I added that to the cart, and then I was just like, I don't need this. This is basically a tin can. A very nice looking tin can, granted. But I took a moment after I added that to the cart. I was like, nah, I'm fine. And then cleared the cart out. One-click purchasing, and I might have 3 of those by now. How many of you guys are influenced by the influencers in your purchases?
I'm definitely not influenced. I think that, as I said earlier, I like to research things pretty much unless I'm in a store and I can touch it, see it.
Yeah.
I like to do my research. So I would prefer to listen to normal consumers' reviews than somebody who's been on TikTok or wherever they're from or whatever their platform they're on. I'd rather hear from actual consumers who multiple consumers instead of one person saying, hey, this stuff's great because the company that's selling it paid me to tell you it's good. I'd rather hear, hey, I use this, and they're obviously not being paid by the company. This was great, or no, it wasn't, and I prefer to make my decisions that way.
Okay.
So
Mylene, I'm guessing very much influenced by social media. You said that you're very cautious about what you consume on social media, so I'm assuming I'm jumping to conclusions here.
Well, to be honest, I've fallen victim once or twice, especially if you have a 19-year-old daughter.
Oh, there you go.
So there's that. My influencer is my 19-year-old daughter. But I'm still very, really weary with buying things just based on what I see with what's trending or what's the influencer. Because knowing my background growing up, that's what my mom always say. Don't be impressed with those people that you see when Oscar Awards was like a big thing, because the dress that they actually wearing is given by those people that created it, and they don't pay penny.
Yeah, it's marketing.
And that's kind of stuck in my mind. So,
all right, Stephanie, you seem like you're most likely the social media personality here amongst all of us. How many influencers have you followed and made purchasing decisions based on what they're showing?
There's a few, but there's one influencer in particular that my mom actually showed me, because she was like, this girl's kind of the same size as you, and her style's like yours, and she is hired by Amazon to purchase clothes, and then she posts about them and kind of does those reviews for you.
Grab bag, try on type.
Yeah. And she'll post the videos with all the clothes and makes it so easy. They're just right in her bio, and it takes me straight to the link on Amazon.
Okay, so now the second part of this question is, how many of those purchases were you really happy with versus how many were you just like, well, this was a bad idea?
Yeah, there's definitely been quite a few of those where I was like, this looks cute. I think it'll be great. She says it's good. I get it. And I'm like, this actually isn't great. And I should have looked into it more. But that's where they get you.
But how many of them have actually panned out as well as you wanted them to?
I would say it's like half and half.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then with the ones that didn't pan out well, were you able to return?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So effectively, it's one of those things, on a 50-50 chance, you're willing to take the leap, because as we talked about earlier, the return policies are very, very consumer friendly these days.
Definitely. Yep. So I typically take the chance.
Well, and again, it's one of those things that We talk a little bit about like celebrity personalities, like the Oscars dresses and whatnot. Obviously, they're probably, most people aren't being targeted to go purchase that Versace dress or whatnot, because the average consumer is not going to be able to afford that one. And social media hits a little bit differently, because they're definitely not, or more often than not, they're not big name personalities that are out there. They could easily just be some person standing in their kitchen talking about how this one pan works really great, and here's my affiliate link, and anything that you guys buy through there, if you could please use this link because I get a small kickback. Now all of a sudden it almost feels like you're getting a sort of real review from an actual person using it. But again, like you mentioned, Stephen, they're getting paid for each thing that they sell. So it might feel a little bit more organic and real, but it also kind of comes across as, at the same time, still paid advertising.
Yeah, in the end, it's a tactics, because now I can relate to this person because she's an ordinary person.
Oh, yeah.
So emotionally, you have maybe more invested to actually listen to their reviews.
Yeah. And I've got a couple of other random social media people that I follow that they'll get companies to send them a product, not with a sponsorship. They're just like, yeah, they just sent it to me so that I could take a look at it. And it's such a cool thing that I have to talk about it. Okay, now I'm very interested. And I'm also more likely to listen to their paid advertising type of suggestions as well when it comes to those things. I feel like with the social media, you get a fake kinship with people. You're like, oh no, I watch them all the time. I trust their opinion now. We're besties. I've never talked to them before, but for whatever reason, I feel like they're relatable because they come across as a regular person, same as me, in the same hobby that I'm looking at. How, for you, Stephen, would that be if it was a random musician playing guitar and saying this particular set of strings that they just picked up, fantastic, listen to them as they're strumming, versus, say, a major musician advertising the same set of strings?
That's a tough one, because it would depend on the musician, because
Well, yeah. Pick your favorite.
There's certain musicians that I would trust, whether they're sponsored or not. I would trust their opinion. But I think overall, same thing. If I was looking for a change in that particular thing, I would probably want to listen to maybe somebody who wasn't sponsored, who maybe wasn't as advanced of a player as maybe, a musician in a band that I like. I would listen to it, and then listen to how they sound, and then obviously listen to the person using them, what the pros and cons are.
Yeah.
And
so once again, going back to your research idea,
Yeah.
But at this point in time, are you thinking more about this particular set? Now I'm going to go research that set, because if that's the case, this marketing has already taken seat.
Yes, I would go and say, okay, now I want to go look at other people's reviews. And so, yeah, I mean, in that sense, I
didn't need guitar strings,
Yeah.
and I wasn't considering this brand, but now I'm doing research on it because somebody said this and it sounded pretty good on their guitar. And so I feel like half the time it's not necessarily that hard sell. It's that top of mind, getting in there, and like it works. I've done it. I've done it myself, same way, which is why I asked the question. Other ideas that are out there as far as things that you guys have seen in marketing recently that feel like they're kind of a new or newer type of way to reach out to people, and what do you guys think about them? What do you got?
I'm not sure if this is a good example, but something for me, like I've kind of been mentioning, I fall into the influencer style, lifestyle clothing kind of things like that. Something that they will do is they'll go and see what's trending and what's really fashionable at the moment, and typically they can be pretty expensive, and they'll find the dupes for you. So they kind of take out that work for you, and they'll do those reviews, and it makes it, that's a cheap, easy option for you. That's something that I've
kind of one
noticed.
of those, is this worth it? Like, here's the expensive version, here's the $10 version. Is it worth $10?
Exactly. Is this a true dupe?
Yeah. Did we actually get a good deal on this one? I bought the thing so you don't have to.
Exactly.
And you can trust me because nobody's paying me to say this. Mylene, what about you? You seen any other trends, especially through your daughter, that maybe have come out that you're like, no, we need to be a little bit more cautious about that, or that you've noticed have drugged people into maybe doing that research on a particular product?
I think for me, I've been seeing a lot with the beauty products, especially maybe because I tend to kind of follow a lot of those K-drama, to those like the K-drama, and all this Korean skincare and things like that. So now all of a sudden there's all these tons of different products that are made in Korea or Japan. And yeah, so that's been
interesting. I feel like this is a thing I'll bring up because I feel like this is the ever elusive algorithm. I get no advertising of those products. Shockingly, I don't use a lot of skincare products personally. I've got beard oils that I'll get advertising for. But I think that's kind of one of those things. Do you guys notice that for those of you that use social media, that the more you maybe look at a thing, the more advertising you're seeing around that thing? So like bacon grease with me watching cooking videos, or fashion trends because of the things that you're looking at or clicking on. If you're paying attention to those, to the skincare dramas and the Korean products, that all of a sudden that marketing is being pushed to you a lot more. Yep. I think that the technical side of the marketing is getting a lot better. For a long time, we've all said that the toaster is listening to us, and that's how Google knows to send me this product. The real truth behind it is that their algorithms and whatnot behind the scenes are a lot more complicated than just putting a microphone in your toaster. But I wouldn't think that they wouldn't start there. I made a joke. I laughed. My wife laughed. The toaster laughed. We got rid of the toaster.
It's not the cable box anymore.
No, everybody knew the cable box was listening.
Yeah.
But it is, I think a lot of it comes down to what did you search recently? Who were you around? Geolocation has been a major factor in a lot of those things. With I just recently went to somebody's house that had a new baby, and because they're posting about that on their social media and I was within range of them, now I'm getting product placement advertisement that is, hey, here's crib or baby clothing or something along those lines. Not even so much because I'm going to buy it, but because I know somebody who might. Interesting how the technology changes and how the tactics change over time to go with all of that technology. I'm going to probably get us ready to sign off here. Does anybody have any other topics that we want to talk about before we do? No?
I had something on the marketing thing we were just talking about.
Oh, perfect. Absolutely. Jump in.
I think on the most recent thing I've seen, I guess maybe it's been over the last couple of years with as far as marketing, I think that a lot of companies are marketing more towards the younger generation as well. As far as an example that I see, just because I play video games, it's one of my hobbies. There is a lot of marketing on kids games, Roblox, Fortnite,
in-game advertising.
So there's in-game advertising.
Okay,
you can, you sign up. The card's already on file on your PlayStation or Xbox or whatever you're playing on. Well, you want this skin? It's this new look, and it's only $4. Well, it's not a physical thing; it's an in-game purchase. But these kids are like, "Cool, the card's already in there. Buy." They have collaborations with YouTubers in these games, and then these kids say, "Oh, well, I want to watch that YouTuber." Well, that YouTuber is being paid by maybe it's Cheetos, and so then they watch this YouTuber, and then they're advertising the kid on you, and it seems that it's just and whether it's the younger generation or some of those advertisements may hit me at my age because I play a game, but it's like a constant barrage, and I think that their marketing strategies may be getting a little more just intense. I think it's starting to be where they know they need to do it constantly, And so they just go
Oh, yeah.
everywhere. You start with the game, you go to YouTube, you go to your Netflix, and it's just a constant barrage.
And I think it's interesting that we almost went full circle here, or flip 180. We talked about gamifying advertising earlier on, and now we're talking about advertising in gaming. And of course, like one of the things you mentioned, the crossovers that have been in there, Fortnite and Marvel, and like the different skins and whatnot, microtransactions. It's $1 here, $1 there, very easy. And again, one-click purchase type situation. The card's already stored in there. How easy can we make it for somebody to pay for this? And how smart are parents to put a parental control or a PIN number in to prevent their kid from purchasing 800 different outfits for their character in this game without mom or dad noticing until the bill comes. All right. Well, honestly, I think we've covered a lot of topics here today, and there's a lot of interesting things out there as far as like subscriptions and social influencing. I think in the long run, for some final thoughts from everybody as far as do these generate good or bad consumer habits? It's been a lot of yes and no's. A lot of it depends on how you utilize them. So if anybody's got any final thoughts, we'll go around the horn for some final thoughts before we sign off. Stephen, you want to start?
Yeah, I think in the end, I think like we discussed, I think that some of these can be beneficial. I think that some, if you don't keep an eye on them, could end up having a negative impact on you. I'm not for or against any of them. I mean, I think ultimately in the end, it all boils down to self-responsibility. And that's what makes the difference, whether it's going to be a good thing for you to take advantage of or a negative thing for you to take advantage of.
Right on. Mylene?
Yeah, just do your research. Same here. I don't have anything against with all those. Just do your research. Make sure it's you're making the right decision when it comes to your budget before you purchase anything. Read the fine print. So that's kind of
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Right on. Stephanie?
Yeah, I totally agree. At the end of the day, it is your money. So just make sure it's going where you want it to go and that it's going to be worth it for you. So
it sounds like a lot of these marketing schemes out there are designed to get you to pay quicker and easier, or to take that cost and spread it out, removing those barriers to purchase. 0% interest, always a good thing, as long as you pay attention to the fine print and can get those things handled before that big lump sum interest gets dropped on top of there. Double-edged sword. Use the tools that you've got at your disposal, use them correctly, and they will absolutely be a benefit to you. Use them incorrectly, and you might be wondering why you've got 30 tubes of Gorilla Glue epoxy sitting in your basement, and maybe have to plan out a whole nother weekend of crafting. In the meantime, thank you everybody for joining me in the studio today. It has been a fantastic chat. And for those of you out there listening, this has been Dollars and Cents, Hapo Community Credit Union's Financial Literacy Podcast. Till next time.